Hello, what an abrupt ending to that intro. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Pranay, the music is nostalgic. I know. I got to figure out a way to rebundle that with some new graphics. So, ideas are welcome. Welcome to Open Source Friday. We made it, friends. We made it to Friday. I don't know about you all, but this week, it was a week. It was a week. But we made it. Thank you so much for being here. For those of you who are new to the show, this is Open Source Friday, and this is a GitHub sponsored and produced show. I'm Andrea Griffiths. I work with the developer advocacy team here at GitHub, and it's an amazing stream. I love it. It's one of my favorites. Why? Because it gives us a chance to slow down for a little while, and we get to spend some time talking to the people that are building interesting things in the open. So we have conversations about projects, we have conversations with maintainers, with contributors, and we talk a lot about the real work of open source and what it takes to sustain it. So the month of May, for those of you who are not familiar with it, I have to share, it's the month of the maintainers. And this is a month that we take at GitHub very seriously. And we use it as basically a month-long celebration for all of you. So if you are contributing to an open source project, if you are curious about what it means to be a maintainer, please take a spin by our Maintainer Month website so that you can see all the amazing things that we have going on this month. There is live streams, there is events. We just close out our Maintainer Summit, which is a private invite-only event for maintainers. And if you go on the website, you actually see how you can become part of the maintainer community, which is an amazing place to be. Not only because you get to hang out with other maintainers and sort of, I think it's a giant therapy session place, but also because you get to speak closely with the product leaders and engineering leaders and the executive leadership at GitHub and help us shape the platform to better serve you. So it's a good place to be. Join, please. Quick plug for that. And then another quick plug for exactly what you're watching right now for this here show. We are now booking for the month of June and July. So if you have a project that you think will be a good fit for Open Source Friday, you want to come and show off a project that either is your project or you have a contributor or maintain, you are part of the core team. We do have a few points of just criteria for the projects. They have to have a license. I think there is like a minimum of like age of the project, and that correlates to like 100 stars or something like that. But I would love for all of you to take a spin by the repository. And if you want to participate in this show, you'll see, if you're new here, you'll see in a moment how it's very laid back, very informational. And honestly, like the key thing that we want to have our projects that come by and to take away is more awareness of their projects, of course, and more contributors. So it's really cool when we have projects that come by here and then suddenly they're trending on GitHub, or all of a sudden they have new contributors and new contributions coming in because someone watched the show. So it's a good opportunity for you and your projects. Please share this in your networks. I would be forever grateful and appreciative if you did that. If you share that link, I'm going to make it a short link for you because right now is an absolute handful. But let me share it with you so that you can just kind of pass along with your friends. Let them know that there is a show there that's completely dedicated to open source and to open source winning. So please share it. I will pass you a short link right now. And if you're watching this and you decided to come and submit an issue to join the show, let me know as well. I'll send you a little thank you. Here is the link for you to be a part of the show. Well, to our topic today, and I'm super excited because I've been actually talking about this with our Jueves de Quack, our Thursday streams yesterday. This week we have a deluxe guest in Open Source Friday. He is now the maintainer of the Spec Kit project. And we are here to talk about what Spec Kit is. So let me go ahead and bring our guest into the stage. Welcome, Manfred. Manfred, you are principal software engineer at GitHub. And you just told me something behind when we were on the backstage that blew my mind. that you started your career? Was it the start of your career with Java 1.0?
Yes, it was indeed. Yeah.
That is that is
Times.
that is a tenure, my friend.
Yes, it is. It's surprising how long, and you can be in an industry, and then you're realizing what kind of things you have gone through. I mean, obviously, I still remember, the frenzy at Y2K. That was so funny. And then afterwards,
I love
everything
it. You're like, that
else,
was so funny.
and it ended up being really nothing, right? I mean, it was work, but and then obviously, the internet actually becoming a real thing. If you can talk to kids nowadays, they don't have any idea of how it really was back in the days. I remember
Oh my
dial
goodness. I
dial.
love it. Listen, we need to have a stream where we just do like a throwback. Because for those of you who are joining and you might not know, like I mean, I'm not gonna take myself, but let's just say that I've also experienced a lot through life. But there was a time that people used to legitimately think that what you're watching right now, the internet, was a fad and it will pass, and that was it. And it's incredible to think about where we are now, like living in this agentic world. It's kind of wild, kind of wild. Listen, here's a throwback. Hello, Notepad. I think Notepad must have been my first
Yes,
editor.
Notepad. That was actually my editor of choice. You're there. You're absolutely there, man.
I love it. I love it. Listen, friends in the audience who are watching and joining, you don't have to date yourself, but hit me with a throwback. Tell me what's the first technology you use in the chat. I want to know. I want to know. Manfred, thank you for being here. You become the maintainer of this project that is absolutely taking, I think, the repository trending by storm and actually helped a lot of people build a lot more effectively. And now, when we have to actually worry about token consumption and how much we're spending, we're kind of starting to come to terms with the new reality that we live in. This is more relevant than ever. Like Spec Kit is here to help you make sure that you're efficient. So thank you. For those of you who are not familiar with the project, would you mind just giving us like an overview of what it is, and then we can get started with, I'll share your screen and you can show us what you come to teach us.
Well, I mean, Spec Kit, right? The word specs has obviously an overloaded connotation for some, but basically what it comes down to when you're doing any agentic coding, it's smart to actually start with something in mind that you want to specify, hence specification, right? So what Spec Kit really does, the original concept of the project basically was a stepped process wherein you define your principles. It's called a constitution. Then you go to a specification phase where you create a specification for a feature that you want to deliver. Now, if you have nothing, that is obviously the beginning of your project. Then you create an actual plan around that. And then from the plan, you then create tasks that it actually goes through and then has implements. So and that's the next stage in the process then. All of that you can do, using agentic AI. Obviously, since I'm at GitHub, I'm going to show it in Copilot. But that's basically what the gist of the entire process is like. Now, that is the original process. Since joining the project, as the lead maintainer, we went through the entire repository's issues and PRs out there, and we quickly realized there's so much diversity in needs, perspectives. So one of the things that we did early on, in February actually of this year, so that's when I actually joined it. But we looked at one of the community contributions that was out there that was waiting to be adopted or not. It was the extension system, and I'm like, that's exactly what I want, because I realized, in order for this project to scale, we needed a community.
Yes.
So I'm happy to obviously report that we took that contribution and we iterated on it. So we're now nearing the 100 mark of different extensions that are part of the Spec Kit ecosystem. So that's really a clear indication of all the things that we, as the maintainers of the project, wanted to see happen. Because, how else can you understand within an agentic world, what does a customer really need?
Exactly.
Because all of our processes are changing. So it's like, wow, but how do we change them? What do we need? Where do we tie it in? Obviously, the original process has a very strict number of steps, and even there, we already had, okay, well, I need to be able to do this, I need to be able to do that. So there's a lot of extra plumbing that came around of that. But before I go into those details, I probably want to kick off the live demo. And
let's do it so we can get it to work.
Go good, because
listen, we're gonna pray for the demo gods here real quick.
Yes.
and they're gonna be all right. I want to quickly thank the audience real quick for sharing their look at this throwback through memory lane.
Yes, Palm Pilot. Yes.
Hello, COBOL. COBOL still very much used, but amazing. QEdit and QBasic. Amazing. And I love this call out for Paint. Paint is still kicking. It's really good, actually. All right, so what are we looking at, Manfred?
So, well, I have a demo script, but I was just copy and pasting. But basically, I already did the install, so I'm going to actually skip that part. But this is the command line to install Spec Kit into your own project. Well, actually, on your own machine, I should say. And then the next step is actually installing it into your project. And I'm going to do that here. So it's the first step is terminal based. It's going to ask some questions. So I'm going to just say yes. And then I am on a Mac, so I need POSIX, aka shell. Otherwise, if you're on Windows, use PowerShell. So now it's actually installed, and you see it on the left-hand side that it actually created a couple of directories. You see that here it's Copilot instruction file because I asked for the Copilot integration. Then you see the .specify, that's the Spec Kit directory. And there's stuff in there for dealing with all the extensions I mentioned. I will go over the rest while we're talking, but I want to kick off the process because it takes a little while. So, okay, so one part of the process that I talked about initially, that is the Constitution. That's basically the principles under which you want to govern your project. Now, since this is a new one, I'm just going to let the LLM to make some choices here. So you see that I actually have the agent integration here. I'm going to go to Constitution, and then I'm just going to paste in what I just copied. And now it's going to go create that Constitution file. If you have an existing project, you are able to actually just say, hey, given this code base, can you create me a set of principles that are focused on blah, blah, blah. And the same thing is what you see here. So it works for Brownfield as well. Okay, here, a little explanation. As part of the process that came in through extensions, there's hooks now. So you can actually hook into the process. The Git support is actually done as a hook. That's why you see that it's now initializing the project for Git. We are in the process of that, making that an opt-in because some customers have expressed the need to be able to not have it automatically initialize a Git repository.
Oh, interesting.
Which is fair, So, but right now you see that it's basically reading through what the commands specify, and I can actually show you behind the scenes what really is happening here. So if you look at this here, this is for Copilot, the file that specifies what the agent actually needs to do, and the agent needs to do a Constitution. So I'm going to go into the agent itself. So here you see this is the agent's file that describes what the agent actually must do with the text I just gave it. So now it's basically going through the process of creating the Constitution, which will end up in this file here. Right now you see the placeholder still, and that's because it needs to fill out those placeholders on the basis of what you actually asked it to do.
Okay, so Constitution is like the foundation then, like this is the first file.
Oh. Well, the Constitution is meant for, hey, this is my overarching framework in which you need to operate.
Gotcha.
It's not. It's specifically written in this particular way, and not in a Copilot instruction file or in an agent file, or because those are meant for process that the agent itself can take. This is literally you and the LLM, both would agree on what are the governing principles for the projects. As you can see, the core principles here, you see that it came up with this code quality, it wants testing standards, it wants a user experience consistency, that, and then performance requirements. Now, I was very vague. Obviously, if you have specific needs within your organization, you probably want to be more precise, right? Because that's one of the things that you need to be aware of. Okay, so now it's done with that part of the process, and then the next step is actually building a specification. So I'm going to go back to my cheat sheet, which is the actual thing. I'm going to try to create a command line utility for, well, here it says what it does. Basically, it's a time zone scheduler. I want to, since we're all in different time zones, both GitHub and Microsoft are global enterprises, right? So if we schedule meetings, oftentimes it's like, oh, what time zone is it? Is it the time zone that is palatable to the person that actually is doing this? So I'm now going to click on build specification. You see that it changes here to specify. So let me just copy and paste that in there. So now I'm going to go ask it to create a .NET app. It could have been a Java app. I'm a Java guy, actually. But I just wanted to show that it is cross-platform, and in an agent world, does it really matter? In that sense, what the agent is doing. It matters the result. As part of the process, you see right now that it's asking for permission. I'm not going to give it blanket permission yet, because I want to make sure that it goes through the process in a good way. Once we hit the implement stage, then I'll just let it go, because that's where it actually needs to do most of the work. So here, we'll see that it's in the process of creating the feature branch. As I said, the Git part is optional. You can turn that off, but that's basically part of the process. And you see, it gives background. Now, I will be very clear that the better model that you have access to during the planning stage, like this particular specify and plan and creation of the tasks, the better it will be able to do the implementation once it hits the implementation stage. Because the more you have it pivoted to what actually needs to get done, the better it can perform.
Okay, so it's recommended then that you pick one of the I guess a higher level models for this step. Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Here's then obviously each part of the process has a template that it needs to fill out. You see that it refers to the spec template here. So if I click on it, this is the actual template behind that one. All of these you can actually influence, and that's the other concept that we've added after extensions that add additional functionality. We also realized, well, sometimes you don't want to just add additional functionality, but you just want to influence it, right? So you don't want to really wholesale replace it, but you need to be able to influence. That's then the notion of what we call presets. Think about a preset as a way to inject your specific guidance that your project needs. If you're in a healthcare industry, you probably want to make sure that no PII is ever leaked, right? So that would be a paramount thing that you would require every project to adhere to. That's where a preset would come in, because what you saw me do with the Constitution, you can still put it in there too, but then it relies on you, right? Versus if you deliver a company-wide or a business unit-wide or a team-wide preset, then you install the preset at installation time and then just walks with it. So the Constitution template would then actually contain that requirement, and you couldn't get around it, versus you have to specify it. So that's where presets come in. It's kind of a layering system, so you can layer those additional requirements that each of these process steps need to have, because it could be that, as part of the implement stage, that you would require tests, right? it must always be tested, or you have a certain level of code coverage that you want to hit. That's all kind of things that you could actually layer in as requirements. And you don't have to layer them in as one bulk. You can make multiple different layers because they have priorities. They can be appended, prepended, wrapped, or a total replace. Let me continue on, by the way, with the technical plan, because that's the next step in the process. So if I click on that, you see that it changes to the Spec Kit plan. And let me actually go back to my script, because that's where plan comes in. So here is actually where I'm saying that I'm targeting .NET Core. Beforehand, I just said I needed a command line utility, so I haven't specified anything yet in regards to, hey, I want to make sure that these particular things need to be done. That's the implementation plan. So I'm picking .NET. I could have picked Go or any other language for that matter. So now I'm going to click on that one. And it does the same thing, picks up the command for the agent to execute. You'll notice that it skips the Git hook here. That's because by default, during these steps, it's not required to commit. So it just says you could, and it tells you what command you should execute if you wanted to actually commit it. But now it's just planning. And as you can tell here, it talks about, it seems to be picking .NET 9. I know why. My local machine only has .NET 9 installed. I don't have the latest installed. So, so it does have context in that regards as well. Obviously, if you wanted specific things to be used, you could call that out in any part of the phases. But if it's implementation specific, you probably want to call that out in the implementation plan, unless, of course, it's a constitutional principle that all your projects, again, need to adhere to .NET 9 or not .NET 10 or whatever it is. It's an interesting way of doing things. So.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so I opened this up a little bit so you can see why the planning phase takes a little while. You see that the core Spec Kit process, does research. It wants to create data model files, contracts. Well, in this particular way, for this particular app, it will probably not create a contracts directory. It's stuff in there because it's a command line utility. Think of contracts if you're doing, an API, like a REST API, that kind of thing. But we'll see what it actually does. And then it also shows a quick start. So, because if you're a human, you do want to know, how do I get started with this particular project? And then because I asked it to do, Copilot, it will also update the Copilot instruction file so that the context is set correctly for this particular integration point, aka Copilot. Now, I like to keep those little indicators from
very
away.
Cool. Yeah, it's good to be able to see what literally what steps it's taking though. So right now we're still on we're making up the plan basically right now, right? Like that's where you walked us through the Constitution first. So where you kind of figure out, okay, like
right.
This is to align everybody kind of to figure out what it is that we're gonna do. Then next, it was sort of like making those decisions where it turns it into that clear spec to be redundant. And now we're planning.
Right. So I can actually show you the spec, as planning takes a little while. So this is actually the specification that it came up with for the time zone aware CLI utility. So we created a feature branch. It created user stories behind it. So you need to be able to look up time with a location. That's a P1 priority. Then if I scroll down, you'll see that P2 is a compare across multiple locations, because I asked that in the initial prompt for the spec. And then findable suitable meeting time is P3. So it's going to be basically creating a plan for that. So it did research. Let me actually show you the research, because that's interesting too. So you see that it says, hey, what time zone library should I use? Well, since I specified that I wanted to do it in .NET, it now looks for Noda time, which is a time zone library. And then it also needs to do CLI parsing, obviously, because I need to be able to pass in what time zone I want to plan it for, or what time zones I want to compare the two for. So, and then terminal output formatting, because it is a terminal app. And then here you see that it's saying I need a data set for mapping cities to time zones, which apparently there's a geonames collection with 500.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
So that's the part of the research that it found out. Now here you see the data model that it wants to actually create. So it wants to create a location entity, well, you know, and it wants to create a time snapshot, meeting window, which is necessary if you want to do meetings between two people, obviously. Now, what is the zip code? What is the city? It's all internal. And then there have a data flow that shows how the user input actually goes, and then what it means. And then there's also a time zone now and a time zone meet. That's the data model. Now, here is the actual plan so far. So you see that it has a technical context. So it's going to do a C#13 syntax with .NET 9. You know, and then obviously tells you that we're not doing a database, so that the time zone file will be included inside the binary and so forth. And then here you see, hey, I need to verify whether or not I actually adhere to the constitution that I previously came up with. This is how you tie that back. So the plan needs to adhere to the constitution so that, you know, you don't diverge away from what certain things that you specified as requirements that all projects need to adhere to. So you see that code quality, it says it passes it as the plan for the plan, and so forth and so on. So there's no problems here, so we are good to go. It's now creating the quick start, which, you know, I can show, but it's not that interesting. It just shows you, you know, what you need for being able to actually build the project. So
that's impressive, though. That's a lot of context that is just created on its own. For this, if you make a change to your constitution once you kicked off the project, then what happens? Is it able to like update itself, or how does that work?
Well, there's two schools of thought there, and that's actually a good question because the community extensions clearly showed the different schools of thought there. I personally like to go do a feed-forward model because it's easier, so that I don't have to resolve any conflict. So if you, at the end of this process, the first cycle, would change your constitution, I would just say create a new feature spec and run through the process again with the changes that you need. Now, some of the community extensions take the other approach. They say, no, feed it backwards and start changing both the tasks, the plan, the original specification, and the constitution. I prefer to do the feed forward because it's faster, right? Because
got it.
There's less work involved for the LLM to figure out what kind of problems it needs to resolve, and you're also quicker. Now, there is a third school of thought here, and that is, no, the spec is always the source of truth, right? And always meaning at any given time. If you adhere to that model, then your plan and your tasks are effectively ephemeral because they don't matter anymore, because you can just regenerate and rerun and get the implementation done, and then change your spec, regenerate, implement, regenerate, implement. So those are the three different schools of thought. The original Spec Kit process is quiet on that, and that's kind of a little bit of the thing that we're trying to address in the future, because you know, we want to make sure that that those three different ways of looking at things, you know, are something that folks are aware of, because you know, LLMs are obviously capable in doing a lot, but you also need to be aware of their limitations. And let me kick off create task for a sec. So, because this will take, by the way, create the list of tasks that it actually needs to go implement.
For the people who might not be familiar with there is this whole like extensions to this kit sort of market out there, right? Like community driven and community created extensions, basically to entertain the school of thoughts like you just shared, because some people prefer to do things, I guess, different in a different way. And thanks for sharing your personal preference too. I think I'm of your school, I think, because I feel like it will cost you less at the end if you just run it through versus
I hope so. I haven't actually measured myself.
That
So.
would be an interesting, hey, homework for anyone out there that likes to do some of that statistical work and figure it out, do some evals on that at the end. What ends up being the
So
most
while creating the task,
efficient.
I'm not going to pull in the community extensions on the main README yet.
Mhm.
We're going to be moving that to our own website, but at the moment the extensions are still listed here. But you can see, it's very interesting. So here you see quite a big list of extensions. These are all community contributed, and they vary from all kinds of different things. There's obviously see what if analysis, or the V model extension pack. This is actually an extension that changes the process completely. So this would be one that uses the V model process. And here you see, yes, you mentioned that in the new era coming up where we need to be worried about token consumption. Here is one token consumption analyzer. Then obviously you see some of the extensions are bridging other stuff. This superpowers bridge. There's a whole repository of superpowers out there that you can use. Those are skill based that you can actually then marry Spec Kit with superpowers.
Ooh, I like that.
Here you see squad bridge, for instance. That's the same thing. You can use a squad agent team and marry that with Spec Kit as well. Spec to Cloud, that's in F1 Fun 1.2. If you're on Azure, you can actually go from the Spec all the way to Azure using the Spec to Cloud extension. And then, obviously there's a whole lot more. Red team, if you're doing security stuff, the red teaming it. And then, there's quite a bit more. It's crazy how many of them are actually landed, but this is just the extensions.
That's so impressive. So these are these contributed? Are there for reference there, or are they contributions that are back into the project now? Or
no, they are the okay. So the community extensions, the word community already says it. These are hosted separately. You see here the link on the right hand side. So this is the link of the community extension. You can actually see there. We don't maintain them. We just list them here as reference for folks to go look at them and make a determination of that if that's something that they would want to use. For instance, this is actually one I did it myself for a different way of a process. So if I click on this one, you'll see that it's just another GitHub repository. It happens to be mine, but you see that this one actually gives also a different process. But that's the key thing, the key strength of it. You have the ability to just pick your extensions that you would want to use. They're listed in the community catalog, and the CLI does actually support you actually searching for certain extensions by capabilities, and then then you would have to actually clone that repository because you would have to host it internally yourself, because the community catalog by design is read only, so that you would actually have to go vet what that extension does. We only list it as a courtesy.
So folks, do your homework obviously before you go install these extensions. Understand the binary, figure out what it is that you're putting in. Very, very cool though. But I love that the communities embrace being able to customize what they want this to be, using the Spec Kit as the foundation. Okay, so where are we on this process now?
We just finished creating the tasks, so I now should just go and actually click implement, and then it will just kickstart the implementation. So
back to model selection, you could have changed the model there before you kicked off the task of actually implementing, going and doing those blocks of work.
Okay. Right. Every single step of the process, you can change the model. Now, because I don't want to keep clicking, I'm not going to put it on bypass all approvals. So yes, please bear with me, and let's hope that everything goes okay. But I'm just now letting it go and implement everything along the way.
YOLO.
Well, there is a different thing. I mean, I say bypass all approvals. I did not say autopilot.
Okay, fair. Listen, that's all right. And again, I feel like one thing that sometimes we it's a mental thing. We get stuck on this is still a conversation. You can still come in and iterate. It's not, it's not set on stone just because you're following up this plan.
That button there, which I won't. Then it stops. So yes,
exactly.
Now, these are the actual tasks it's going to be doing. So you see that it creates the solution. and it came with a very short name, TZCLI solution as well, I guess. So beneath the covers, obviously, it's running the thing. So yeah, so basically, I said the word execute, but because I pressed the button, that's the equivalent of it.
Got
So
it.
full note, you can run this in Copilot CLI as well. Then the only difference there, you would have to use the /agent notation, and then obviously, because we are very open. There are a lot of other integrations as well, from our competitors. You name it, we probably integrate with it. And we do rely on community contributions to maintain those, because I don't have access to all of them as well. So, but they are out there, and we do know that customers are using different tooling as well.
With different harnesses. Oh, very interesting though. But the compatibility is there, right? So you can use Spec Kit regardless. But of course, use VS Code and our favorite harness,
Absolutely.
Copilot CLI, the best. Excellent. Okay, so now we have all these units of work and all these ideas. And one thing that I want to call out, it's this is basically, it follows the same way that I guess a person would approach developing a problem, like with a good practice, right? Because we don't go flailing on about a problem when we want to create a project. Like you gotta like think it through, then break it apart in units of work, and it follows sort of that same process, and then it goes to work. I love that.
Right, and I'm gonna let it just run. So I will now actually pull in some of our documentation just to talk through it a little bit. There we go. So this is it's linked from the GitHub repository, so you can click on the website there. But what I want to call out is obviously the presets. I'm not really showing them during this project, but presets are the additional layer on top of the extensions and up on top of the core process, as I mentioned before. But the key thing is that it allows that layering in and of itself as well. You see that recently, it finally starts to take off. Extensions took off. Now presets are following suit. We're now up to almost 20 presets, each governing different areas. As you can see here, the top one is the A11Y governance. Hey, your software needs to be accessible, probably because it's publicly facing. If it's private, probably not needed, or if it's a command line utility, you wouldn't really need that particular thing, right? So then you wouldn't actually layer that in, and that goes through all of them. Now, how I actually developed this is I started the process for this, and full disclosure, it was funny because I realized after doing that, it was kind of silly, because I started with, can I make my LLM speak Klingon?
Oh, I like that.
The answer is absolutely yes, but then I realized I can't read it myself. So I pivoted, and I decided, well, I'll just do pirate speak. So there is a preset, just as an illustration of how powerful presets really can be, that show you that you can both change the commands and the templates, which means you can change how it interacts with you and what it produces for you. So that particular thing, obviously, that preset does everything in pirate speak. So if you talk to it, the LLM talks to you back to you as if it's a pirate, and it produces documents as if they are pirates. So the plan, for instance, would be called, the spec, I should say. The spec would be called the voyage manifest. User stories are crew stories, and so forth and so on. So it's really funny to see, but the real fun is when you actually go through implement, it did not care whatsoever that you actually addressed all the documents in pirate speak. It just executed it faithfully, just the same way as if you were doing it in regular English. Now, what that demonstrates to me is, hey, I can now also do it in Chinese. I can't read Chinese, but if there are community members that need or want their own documentation that is generated in Chinese, you could. There's no reason why you couldn't tell the LLM to do it in that particular fashion. Now, one of the things that I never, ever in my wildest dream expected to happen with Spec Kit is the one that you see listed below the pirate speak, and that is screenwriting. Yes, somebody delivered a preset that extends the core process with screenwriting capabilities. So
That's wild.
yes, now I love it. I mean, it shows the power of what you can actually do when you go agentic, right? Because it just demonstrates that, hey, let's add a set of commands, let's add additional templates, and off we go. So yes, the screenwriting. Now the same author actually also delivered another preset that is for fiction book writing. So you can do that too. The fiction book writing actually landed earlier, and he had some subsequent updates to it. So if you use that particular preset, you could actually create a book and then generate the audiobook from it.
That's fascinating. Could we see what one of those templates look like? Like, that's just super interesting to me.
So let's pick. So we're going to go to his site now. So you see the fiction book writing preset. It tells you how to use it, the full documentation, the README. But yes, the templates, let's have a look. So if you look at the command here, so this is the audiobook one. So it tells the user input, and then it tells you must consider, and then see the purpose. So there are literally just markdown files, and then you see, what each node covers, and the right files, integration, and the so basically it's literally the instructions that you're going to give to the LLM, and this is the instruction for, what is that, the audiobook part. Yes. And then
that is fascinating. Can't believe what people are doing with this. This is so cool.
And then you see here the templates that it needs to fill in. So let's see if the character index. So if you obviously, when you're writing a book, you probably want to know what list of characters you have. So that's what this one is for. So, and then even a relationship map. It's very fascinating how that all came together. And yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, it's like, it works. Now here you see, the funny thing too, full disclosure as well, obviously, because we have tried to keep we actually are keeping the project agnostic. Our core templates could not actually introduce anything specific to an agent, so to a coding agent, that is. So you saw me illustrate how it works in VS Code. Now that's still the core templates. We had a contribution coming from the community that initially wanted to change the core templates, and I had to push back and say, no can do. We have VS Code. Yes, I realize that, but even that, VS Code, if you have that open, you can actually have it show up, those questions that you need to answer with the multiple choice. You can click on them with the answers. That's what this particular preset actually adds into the flow. So if you would add this preset, if you would go through the process of asking Spec Kit for running the clarify task, which is an additional task you can do to clarify some of the things if your specification is not correct, then it will actually show it up in VS Code ask style, which is those questions and what do you want to address, give an answer, and so forth. The core is actually completely conversational. So that's that's a way to, if you have a specific need within your organization to formalize it a little bit more with these questions need to always be answered, that's where that preset comes in. Now, not even in the same week,
another community. Yeah, I see.
The other one from our competitor.
Right.
From Claude. So the same thing, same pushback. As I said, we're open, but we also want to make sure that everyone has the same level playing field for the project itself. Now, I'll be honest. There are things that that we're learning from this. I loved seeing our co-pilot friends actually deliver what we call plan mode in our product. So, to me, that's a smaller variety of doing specs. So if you would ask me, would I use a spec for everything? Probably not. But where do you put that line, right?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Actually, somebody earlier asked like where were the ask agent and plan modes. I guess sort of like calling out that difference. So yes, there is a plan mode that's now a part of VS Code, and you can use that, and you can also use Spec Kit.
Right. Well, and how I would normally say it is like, okay, if you need to do a one-off that you don't ever have to share, sure, plan mode's fine. If you need to have traceability, probably not.
That's fair point. Fair point. And thank you so much to Oxted53 Charlie 6 for bringing that up. Before we move on, I want to make sure that we get this question from Jamie Betancourt, and thank you for being here. Can we leave a maintenance plan as an open layer?
You can well, with presets you can basically define what you want to do. So if you want to do something like that, yes, you can. Now it depends on how you want to address the problem, right? If you're talking about maintenance, I would be looking at it from a perspective of, okay, traditionally we would have milestones or sprints or whatever you want to call them, and you would kind of plan things out. So maintenance plan sounds to me like something that you already plan out. So that is probably a level higher than the spec. So from a maintenance plan, you probably be looking at, okay, what kind of spec or aka features or things I need to address do I distill from that? So now I do have to say that if you're looking at it from a perspective of, well, where do I put what it goes in a spec and what should be a higher level plan, you can create specs of specs, because there's nothing in the process or in any of it that the commands do that require you to go at the end of the plan or at the end of the task to actually give it to the agent. You could just say, no, I just want to plan everything out, and then those particular tasks can be used for specs themselves, right? Because it's an open system. So however you want to create your commands or however you want to use them, that's up to you. If you do create specs, and I would always urge you to look at it from the perspective of, hey, I'm asking an intern to do the work. Yeah. And it's a very capable intern, and it's a very quick intern, but it's still an intern nonetheless. So the more specific you can be for a certain task, the better it will perform. But that comes at a cost. And you'll notice that here on the bottom right, right now with the context window that I'm flowing in, I'm at 66% of the context window.
Yes.
Done yet. So if your specification and the subsequent planning steps lead to you running out of context window, you probably want to first try starting a new conversation for each of the steps if necessary. But if you then still run out of context window, you probably, for the models that you're using, overspecified, because you want to keep that within that context window, because the moment you start context window compaction, it loses context, which means its reliability goes down off a cliff. And that has nothing to do with Spec Kit. That has everything to do with how LLM just operates.
Just the models, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So looks like that we're close to, that's testing right now. So as you can see, even a seemingly innocuous small utility, when you fully specify it and with testing in place, it can take a while. As you can see, it generated 55 tests, and it's now on to writing integration tests. So it's interesting how that goes.
So I don't think I have built ever. Let me do. Oh, I'm lying. I do have a CLI tool, but I mean, saying I built it is or me and Copilot built it together to be able to use the ChatGPT 2 image creation model from Foundry from the CLI, so I can generate images for stuff. But what do you think it would have taken for a developer to do this, to create this CLI tool without the help?
Well, the biggest problem is the research. I think the coding aspect is not necessarily always the biggest problem. It's like, where do you get all the information from? Because you notice that it talked about that time zone data. Just getting that information already, and how to then format and digest it and put it in play. I mean, I would probably take a couple of days just to
absolutely figure out what libraries to use. I know, like that's absolutely all very time consuming. What a time we live.
There you go. It see, and now it should recover because it found some errors in the compilation.
Yeah. When you were creating the Constitution, you did add like the testing requirement, and the coverage was part of that, right?
I just said testing. I didn't say coverage.
You didn't say what? Okay.
It inferred it from that. Yes. So yes, if you're doing a total greenfield, which actually what this is, but if you do total greenfield and you just want to get to a working example, you can just say omit testing. Obviously that comes with the catch that you might not end up with what you need.
Yeah, it might not work. Yeah.
Right. So as you can see, the gate that it picked was actually 80%, so that's pretty high. That is probably where you would want to be specific. If an LLM to get something to 80%, specifically if you ever would do a brownfield app, you probably don't want to do that from out of the gate. You probably then want to more like incrementally want to increase your code coverage, because otherwise, it would crunch tokens just to get to that point.
We have a question from the audience about compaction and when you know that your context window has been compacted. I think it's a notice, right? Like, would you get a notice pop up?
Yes. If you're in Copilot, you'll see that it actually says compact in conversation. But yeah, here, I mean, on the bottom right for me, you can see where I'm at. So
there is.
And I can actually click the word compact conversation here. And you see that it actually varies because it does drop things out of the context now that Copilot integration is a lot smarter. So it's not like it's compacting, it just doesn't need it. So there's a difference between compacting the conversation and having the tooling intelligent enough to know, no, I already did this part of the process. So it really depends on how well your coding agent is as well.
That's true.
Your mileage will vary depending on which coding agent you're using.
That's true. And for the Copilot CLI, it's a / command. So you can do a / context.
Now, full disclosure, a community member actually asked me about that, and he was like, well, can you run this in skills mode? Because obviously a lot of other vendors use skills. The answer to that is yes. It's just not the default. You have to specify it at in a time that you want them to be scaffolded out as skills, and then they're available as skills. That's actually mutually exclusive. You either run them at agents or you run them as skills in the Copilot CLI so that you don't confuse the system of like, hey, this is a skill, that's an agent. I wouldn't normally do that. But okay, so
look at this. So it's running the final test. And you're getting to this greenfield. Look at all that. Look at all those passing tests.
Okay, publish field.
Well,
okay.
Maybe. I jinx it.
I'm pretty sure it will recover, and then we're just going to ask it to actually run the app, because full disclosure too, I asked it to create in multiple different ways, so it probably is a little bit overspecified in that sense. So it now needs to do some serialization fix.
You had your script doc that was for you to follow, sort of, obviously for the demonstration purposes. But I don't know, would you recommend that people have sort of like some sort of structure when they're starting, like before the actual going through the process of spec-in, like to have like a baseline?
Well, this is actually just me being extremely efficient, I should say.
Okay.
This is actually the script just distilled from the walkthrough that you can actually literally walk through. There's on the, well, do I still have it here? Nope, I don't. Give me 1 second to pull it up. Sorry, I closed my my window, and I'm doing that in a separate window because I need to click through. Give me a second here.
No problem. While you're clicking through finding that, folks, please go ahead and go to the repository and drop your star. This repo is getting close to 100K. I'd love to see it cross 100K this weekend. We can do it. So go ahead and start the project for me, please.
So here you see what I mentioned. The top one is the actual one that we're executing. So you will just see if you click on it. It's this is listed as a community walkthrough. Full disclosure, all of them here are done by me myself, but they're listed on my personal repositories because I wanted to make sure that the core repository wasn't necessarily polluted with that content. And I would love other people to contribute in a similar fashion. So
I love that. Manfred, would you drop me that link so I can share it as well, please? Thank you.
Yes. We'll do that. Can I do that now? Oh, let me just actually go.
If it's gonna throw off your screen, that's okay. I'll go find it. No worries.
Okay, we'll do it after. But anyway, so yes, here you can see, that's the other question that customer has asked. It's like, well, can you use this for a brownfield app? The answer is absolutely yes. And these walkthroughs actually illustrate the process. So if these walkthroughs you can actually do yourself and see it in action. And as you can see, I've tried it on a ASP.NET app with 307K lines of stuff. And I say stuff and not code, because for an LLM, whether or not it's C# Razor, SQL, or JavaScript or whatever, it does need to be able to go look at that. So that's the reason why I say lines off and then all the other ones. Similar to the Java one is here, one with 400K. Then I went Go React, which is based on the NASA open source Hermes project. It was really fun to do that one, to add some additional features to it. And then, as we talked before, the preset that I used for the battle plans, aka Pirate Speak, is listed here as well. How do you use a preset? And then here, the custom extension, that's the 8 extension that I also previously clicked on. If you want to do a different flow of a process, here you can see this one does vision, roadmap, progress tracking, work queue, work item, and then execution and the feedback loops, which is different than the core Spec Kit process. But they're all, part of the Spec Kit family.
Very cool. I dropped that link in the chat, friends, so you can go and take a look to the walkthroughs. And that's a great way to contribute as well. If you contribute a walkthrough like that, that would be awesome.
And it says that it's done, so let's execute. We're going to be completely lazy and let the LLM actually do that. There we go. And let me open that up in, oh, come on.
Let's see what you build.
Well, let's see what it built, right? Too quick. I was trying to actually, yes, there we go. So now let's scroll that out a bit. So this is the actual binary that it called. You can see that here. So it started with give me the help, and then it shows you the help that it built. It has structured JSON if you want it, or human readable text. It can force a 24-hour clock. It obviously shows version. Then you have a commands now that displays the current local time for one or more locations. Meet, if you can meet between different locations, and then convert the time in to one time zone. And then you see it here calling with several different ways. So here you see how that actually comes out. So this is in time zone now. So apparently, in New York, it's according to it, it's 2 p.m. That would be correct.
It's
right?
accurate, yes. Yes, it is. Imagine it wasn't. I mean, that's so meaty, though. That is very beefy of a CLI tool.
Yep.
So cool.
And that was all just done, in a matter of, what is it, 45 minutes?
Yeah. About 45 minutes. That's terrific.
Right. And you have the spec, you have all the tasks that it did. You even have the test results. Everything ready to commit. Obviously, I already did the commit in the actual walkthrough, so you can see the results there too. You could actually do a fun contrast and compare if you would run it yourself to see, hey, this is what was the result when I ran it, and this is the result that you have, because obviously it's an LLM, so that's doing the work. So there will be always, some differences here and there. It might make different decisions based on what model you use and when you're actually doing the process. So
This has been very cool, though. Very, very cool. So, I mean, listen, you still have plenty of context. I say
Yeah.
plenty. You had significant context left.
Mhm.
Let me take a look at the chat and see if there is any other questions. There's a question from Mr. Kumar, and thanks for the question about managing logic regressions when using Copilot. Let's see. I think it's not necessarily related to the project that we're on, but it's about existing logic breaking from elsewhere in the code base. I mean, I think generally speaking, if you start your projects using Spec Kit,
Mhm.
the I mean, this is obviously not, don't quote me, but I would think that the chances of having those regressions would be lessened because you are documenting things in a more broad manner. So maybe considering that could be a point. And then we have a question about what we've been talking about, Brian. This is such a good question because
Thank
we
you.
thank you for, yeah, we assume.
Uh,
So
yes, we really do assume. Greenfield means you have nothing. You start from scratch. The grass is greener on the other side, right? Brownfield is, oh boy, I have an existing application, and there is
you
so
inherited
my
something from
grass is
somebody.
literally turning brown. Because I can barely get time to maintain it.
Excellent, excellent. And so again, to the point that because we were thinking Spec Kit, you're specking from beginning and you're doing spec-driven development and you're starting from zero, like we saw in this project here. But the question for customers as well, can I use this also for existing things, like for what I'm not working from zero? So for those brownfield projects. And thank you so much. That is such a good question.
Um, on the note of, obviously it's an open source project. Feedback is always welcome. Feature requests are good. Best thing, obviously, are PRs because that's what the ones that I love the most because that actually means that you want to contribute something. Having that said, if you can do it as an extension, you don't need me. If you can do it as a preset, again, same thing, right? So that's the whole reason why we went this route, to be able to see what you want to do. Now, do ask for listing in the community catalog, so we can share it all, across the entire ecosystem. And coming back to that question about kind of like drift, there are extensions that actually address that as well, that look at, okay, well, I went through the process. It didn't do exactly what I needed to do. So there are extensions that deal with that. We are thinking of doing some more work there as well to adopt that into the core original.
Oh, that'd be great.
Haven't decided yet, because obviously we have to weigh that against all the other stuff that is happening and keeping, the rest moving forward. I do want to call out that, I hope that the workflows part gets enough traction as well, because that would make it so that you can integrate it into your CI/CD pipeline, or you could even formalize your own workflow. I would love to see, for instance, the person that did the screenwriting extension, to see if they can do some automation in their workflow as well, because obviously, if you're producing it's like a mini series, you're probably looking at multiple steps that need to get done as well. Again, there also it's completely open. The workflow has catalogs as well. Then on top of that, workflows obviously involve steps. So we made that pluggable as well. I still need to finish the catalog support there so that you can actually list those in the community catalog as well, because I came up with 10 primitives for that. I'm not sure if they match all of what you need, but if it does, then fantastic. If it doesn't, please contribute a step.
Amazing, amazing. And thank you for addressing Mr. Kumar's question as well. And then I want to just bring up quickly Jamie's comment about specs from specs. Okay, that's an interesting point. Yeah, saving the original definitions allow them all to keep the context. So it would be cool to see some of the additional work that you have planned. We have learned a ton today. Thank you so much, Manfred. This was like delightful. Come back.
I would love to. I mean, I would love to see you in 3, 4, 5 months, depending on how.
Yes, please come back. Please come back and listen. If you found any of this interesting, there is a ton of work that can be done in the projects. This is an open source project. Like, yes, we're lucky that we have the backing of a company that's actually putting out resources and amazing people like you, but we need the community. We need the community. We need all of you, and that's one way to make sure that, again, the project keeps moving forward, and that we're addressing like a broad use case, not just what we need. So this has been delightful. Thank you so much, Manfred. Please go for it.
Yeah, you mentioned just dropping us a star, but because they are all community extensions and presets and so on, and they are hosted on their own repositories, if you use theirs, drop them a star too.
Yes, please. Yes, please. So start us and go to the website, go through the walkthroughs. If you end up clicking and going and using, please start those as well. And this has been delightful. I'm excited. I think this is a good call of action for me to get more organized about the way that I've been just kind of white knuckling some projects. Like I could have saved a ton. And honestly, now that we need to care about that a lot more, this is one sure way to make sure that we're being a lot more efficient. So this has been super informative. Manfred, I shared your X account. I know you're also on LinkedIn. Thank you so very much. I mean, I think this is a great way for us to work, like walking through this flow of moving from that share intent into actually executing these blocks of work. And for me, clarity, like having everything specified in a way that it's understandable to me and to the LMs, to the agents. Great way of working. So thank you so much. This has been delightful.
Okay, appreciate it.
All right. Well, friends, don't forget to go by the repository and drop a star. Thank you, Manfred. Make sure that you follow Manfred as well on X. I'm going to put up on the screen one more time. Give him a follow. And if you end up contributing to this project, please let me know. DM me. I'll put my X as well. I can't believe I'm calling it X. I've been brainwashed. It's Twitter forever. So I'm going to drop my Twitter here as well. Please just pop it in there. If not, find me on LinkedIn, man. Find me on LinkedIn. I want you to be where you are. Be where makes you happy. Also, we are on GitHub, so I think there is other points of contact there. So thank you all so much for joining us this Open Source Friday. You are awesome. Have a great weekend. Just leave. Don't work anymore. And if they ask why, just say like, some lady at Open Source Friday said so. Before we go, I'm so sorry, and I do have to go because I have a meeting that I'm late for. Please, 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 please don't forget to share with your friends, with your neighbors, and for yourself as well. The way that we help open source win right here. Bring your projects to Open Source Friday, please. Read the criteria. It's a good time. I promise. We'll make it fun here. Thank you all so much for being here. We'll catch you next week.